Hello all. Myself, Dr. Vardhya Jagan, working as an associate professor in Vijnana Bharat Institute of Technology. It's in Gatkesar, Aushampur. Right. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the simulation of semi-controlled converter at different types of loads. And we will assume first as load as a resistive load, then resistive inductive load, then we will go for resistive inductive or battery type of load. So in order to simulate this half controlled converter, we are using MATLAB Simulink. Right. So and these are the system requirements to simulate this converter in MATLAB. And if you want to learn more about this half controlled converter, you please go to PS Bimra, MD Singh textbooks, and as well as MH Rashid, Ned Mohan. There are plenty number of books you can find. Please go to refer to some standard textbook. Right. Then this is the circuit configuration of this single phase semi-controlled converter. In case of full controlled converter, we'll be having 4 thyristors like this. This is what T4 and this is T3. So it is a 4 thyristors. But in case of half controlled converter, we are using half of the thyristors. So we are using only 2 thyristors here, and remaining 2 thyristors are replaced by these 2 diodes. Diode are uncontrolled devices. Now our power transistor converter consists of, you can see this is our power transistor converter, which consists of 2 thyristors T1 and T2 and 2 diodes D1 and D2. So and it is performing the task which is AC to DC conversion. So now this fixed AC with 230 volts 50 hertz single phase supply, it is being converted into a variable DC here across the load, and the load can be a resistive load can be a RL load can be RLE load, where E is the battery. Right, and these are the electrical equivalent circuits for these type of loads. Right, now we'll see at which instant we are going to turn on this T1, at which instant we are going to turn on this T2. And D1, D2, they will automatically come into conduction state whenever they are in forward bias condition. Forward bias condition means anode should be connected positive and cathode should be negative, connected to negative. If that is the case, without applying any gate pulse, since these are uncontrolled devices, they will come into conduction state. Right. So now you can see during positive half cycle, here positive and negative you can see here. So during the positive half cycle, you can see this wire is connected here and this wire is connected here. So this is what leg A and leg B. Now leg A center point is connected to positive, leg B center point is connected to negative. So which means T1, D2, they are in forward bias condition. So if I apply triggering pulse to T1 during this positive half cycle, T1 will conduct and the current always leaves from positive terminal, positive, anode, cathode, load, D2 anode, D2 cathode, and back to the source like this. So this is the direction of current during positive half cycle. Right? So thyristor will conduct during complete positive half cycle, and diode is also will diode DT also conduct during negative half cycle. Now you can see if this is the input voltage waveform, right? So from, let us, if I trigger T1 at this particular point, both T1 and D1 will conduct and you will get some voltage like this. If the load is resistive inductive load, if the load is resistive load, no doubt that current waveform and the voltage waveform, they will be in phase and you will get the current and the voltage waveform like this. But if the load is other than resistive load, let us say inductive load, the current will lag the voltage by some angle, and the current may become zero here. The current may extinguish to zero here. Then, which means the input output voltage, which I have shown here with yellow color, that has to follow the input voltage up to this extent. Now see what happens after this omega t equal to pi. Now after this omega t equal to pi, you are going to load is having the reverse voltage across it, right? That means the voltage across D2 is becoming reverse. So instead of triggering this one, then D1 comes into picture, because after pi to 2 pi, D1 it is in forward bias condition. So the current may flow like this. It will take the path like this. So inductor is having certain energy which is connected in the load, and that energy will be circulated to the load resistance like this. Okay, now there is a closed path, which means the load is short circuited by the T1 and D1, so you will get zero voltage during this interval. Actually, we need to get this portion if D2 is replaced by some thyristor, but due to presence of these two diodes in the half leg, you won't get the negative portion, right? So that is why now you can say average output voltage is getting increased when compared to full control converter in case of RL load, because there is no negative peak here, but it will come into picture when it is a full controlled converter. We have seen in the last video. Similarly, during negative half cycle, if you want to control and convert this negative half cycle to the positive half cycle, right? So now this polarity will become negative and this will be positive. So this wire is connected to negative here, and this bottom one is connected to positive. That means leg A center point is connected to negative, leg B center point is connected to positive. So if you see here, diode D1 it will be in forward bias condition, as well as T2 is also in forward bias condition, because anodes of these devices, they are connected to positive, and cathodes of these devices are connected to negative terminals, so they will be in forward bias condition. So if you trigger the T2, which is in forward bias condition, it will conduct and it will take the current path like this. The current obviously is from positive terminal. It is a positive terminal. It has to take from source like this. Positive, load, D1 anode, D2 cathode, D1 cathode, and back to the source like this. So this is the direction of current is taking place. Now again, if you see, if you want to see the input waveform, so let me draw the input waveform with dotted line. Right. So now, okay. Now we are triggering the T2 at this particular point. So you will get the output voltage across the load from this point onward. You can see, you may have doubt this how this negative pulse is converted to positive cycle. You can see the direction of current. It is always entering at this particular point, which is a positive one with respect to the input source. So it is converted to positive side, and you are getting this portion. Right. Again, after this 2 pi instant, if you want to see the current waveform, current has to lag the voltage by some angle. So it is lagging the voltage by some angle. Thereafter, it will discharge at this particular point. So because of this current, if D1 is replaced by some thyristor T, then you have to get this negative portion. But see the magic here. So during this interval, the voltage is becoming reverse. That means positive half cycle coming to picture. This portion is coming to picture. During that interval, D2 is in forward bias condition. So instead of flowing the current through D1 during negative half cycle, just after this 2 pi onwards, it will take the path, the current, thyristor T2 is in conduction state, and it will take the path like this. Now you can say T1, D2, T2 will come into conduction, and you can see load is short circuited by these D2 and T2. So the load voltage will be zero, but there is a current which is a discharging current. So which means the load is discharging to the resistance which is connected in series with this through this D2 and T2 like this. Which means you are not going to get the negative peaks here, right? So we'll get only positive peaks, which means now I can call it as a unidirectional converter. The power flow is possible only from the source to the load. So let us have some more idea about its waveform. So if you see this one, this is the input voltage which is provided to the half controlled converter. So during positive half cycle, I told you that T1 it is in forward bias condition, so which is from 0 to pi, and 0 to 2 pi, T2 it is in forward bias condition. So T2 can be triggered at any point from omega t equals 0 to omega t equal to pi. Similarly, T2 can be triggered from pi to 2 pi because it is in forward bias condition. Now let us say if I trigger T1 at this particular point, so T1 will conduct and D2 will come into picture, and they both provide the positive voltage across the load, you can see. Right, and since it is a resistive load, the current and the voltage they should be in phase. So you can see at this instant at omega t equal to pi, both voltage and current is naturally becoming zero. So thyristor T1 as well as D2 will goes to off state without having an extra circuitry. So since T1 it is in conduction state from omega t equal to alpha onwards, so from omega t to t equal to omega pi, the voltage across thyristor equal to 1 to 2 volts. Right, let us focus on negative half cycle. So I told you during negative half cycle, thyristor T2 is in forward bias condition. So I can trigger T2 from omega t equal to pi to 2 pi. So at pi plus alpha, I have given the trigger impulse to T2. From this point onwards, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage, and which is converted into positive side. Since it is resistive load, the current and the voltage they should be in phase. Again, if you see at omega t equal to 2 pi, the net current which is flowing through the thyristors D2, thyristor T2 and D1 is becoming zero at this particular point. Okay, so now they will goes to conduction off state at this particular point automatically. And during this negative half cycle from pi to 2 pi, T1 will be subjected to reverse voltage across it. So it has to block the complete reverse voltage. So it is blocking this reverse voltage. Right. So this is about R load. Now we'll focus on RL load. Right. It is just similar to this waveform is just similar to the single phase full wave rectifier. For R load, you will get the same waveform, and even if you derive the average output voltage, it will be same. RMS output voltage also same. We'll derive these expression during class session. All right, you can go. I will upload a few more videos. You can go through them because we don't have that much time here now. Now, in case of RL load, if you recall a circuit configuration, just recall a circuit configuration so that you will get to, you will have more idea. So this is what T1, T2, D2, and D1. Here it is connected to positive, it is connected to neutral point. And now the load is resistive, inductive load is connected across the bridge, like this. Now you can see during positive half cycle, P is connected to positive, N is connected to negative. So I can say T1 and D2, they are in forward bias condition. So if I trigger T1 at this particular point, this is replaced by short circuit, and the current will take the path like this through T1 anode, T1 cathode, R, L, D2 anode, D1 cathode, like this. And the output voltage will follow the input voltage. It is following the input voltage. Now, just after this omega t equal to pi, if you see, it has to follow this negative portion, because if you see the current waveform, the current is lagging the voltage by some angle because it is inductive load. There is inductance in the load in addition to the resistance. So the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging, thereafter it is discharging. During discharging condition, inductor has to replace its polarity. It is charged like this, positive, negative. Now discharging means it will be negative and positive. It has to discharge its energy to the source, or it may discharge to the inductance also, load resistance also. So during just after this point, if you see omega t equal to pi onwards, this thyristor T1 and D1 is subjected to reverse voltage across it. because the load voltage has to become reverse at this particular point. But during that interval, the inductor is discharging. So it has to, the current always leave from positive terminal. Now, instead of flowing the current through D2, which will be reverse bias condition just after this omega t equal to pi, it will take the path through D1 and T1. So you can see this is what the discharging current. Now you can see the blue color discharging current, which is flowing from L positive, D1 anode, D1 cathode, T1 anode, T1 cathode, and resistive load, and like this. So now you can see the load is short circuited by this T1 and D1. So you will get 0 voltage during this interval. Similarly, if you want to see during negative half cycle, now during negative half cycle, polarity will become reverse. So instead of positive here, it will be negative, and this leg is connected to positive like this. And the current always leaves from positive terminal. So if you see, if this is the polarity, it is connected to anode of T1, T2, so which is in forward bias condition. So I can trigger T2 at this particular instant. From this point on, the output voltage following the input voltage. And if you want to see the current, it is the current, it is taking from N positive to T1 anode, T2 anode, or L, D1 anode, T1, sorry, P negative. So this is the direction of current. Now during this interval, the inductor will charge with this polarity positive and negative. So just after this point, inductor has to discharge. So the discharge means it has to replace its polarity. It will be negative and positive now. So to take the path, discharging current path, it will take the path like this. It will always, the current always leaves from positive terminal. Now inductor is behaving like a source, and it will flow through D2. It is in forward bias condition during positive half cycle. T2, it is in already triggering state. So it is take the current path like this. So now the source is short circuited by D2 and T2. So during this interval, you will get 0 voltage. Right? So again, you cannot see the negative peak here in case of inductive load. Now we'll move on to RLE load. Here also same thing. I told you in the last video lecture that you can find the battery voltage here. Now the load is RLE load. Resistance, inductance, and battery. So net voltage across the load equal to, I can write V0 equal to load voltage across resistance, voltage across inductance, voltage across battery. Right. So now you can see here. So this is the net voltage across the load. Now during 0 to theta 1, 0 to theta 1, the battery voltage is more when compared to the AC voltage. Just like a waterfall concept, the current may flow from higher potential to lower potential. So during this interval, if you see here, the battery voltage is more. So current has to flow from source to load, with the source voltage less when compared to the battery which is connected in series with the load. So the power flow is not possible. Even if you trigger before this T1, they won't come into picture and they won't go to conduction state. That is why I apply triggering pulse to T1 after this theta 1. Here you can say. Okay, and from this point on, if I trigger T1 and D2 will conduct and you will get positive voltage across the load. Right, and since there is a inductance in the load, the current has to lag the voltage by some angle, charging, thereafter discharge. It is discharging at this particular point completely. So during the short interval, if you see, during the short interval, there is no output current. If there is no output current, there is no voltage associated with resistance. There is no voltage associated with inductance. Then this battery voltage is equal to your output voltage. So that is why during this interval, you can see only the battery voltage, which is 50 volts here. Similarly, during negative half cycle, in order to trigger the thyristor during negative half cycle, make sure that pi plus alpha should be more than is theta 3. Because from 0 to pi to theta 3, battery voltage more, but after this theta 3, your input voltage more. Then power flow is possible from um, source to load. Then if I trigger T2, from this point around, the output voltage following the input voltage. Now current has to lag the voltage by some angle, because there is an inductance in the load, charging, thereafter discharge. Here it is completely discharged. Again, if you see during this short interval, there is no current. If there is no current, there is no voltage associated with this resistance. There is no voltage associated with inductance. We left with only battery voltage, so that you can see here during the short interval, you are about to see the battery voltage E. So this is about voltage across the load, current flowing through the load at different at different load conditions, R load, RL load, and RLE load. Now we are going to extract the same results using the simulation. Now to go to the simulation, these are the procedure. First we need to open the MATLAB Simulink, then we have to click on the Simulink model. Let me share that MATLAB. Here you can see the MATLAB, right? Then second point is that you can see, then click on the Simulink model. Okay, then I will go to the MATLAB. I will click on the Simulink model. Here I can find the Simulink model. Okay, then the next point is that go to the library browser and search for the required elements. So we need 2 thyristors, 2 diodes, 1 load, 1 current measurement block to measure the current, 1 voltage measurement block to measure the voltage, 1 source, AC source. We need DC source also, which is connected in the load, which is a battery load, you can say, right? We need a pulse generator, we need a scope, all those things you can find in this document, right? Let me share you that one. Okay, now it is opened, untitled page is open now. Right now you can see the library browser here. Here you can see, and if I click on this library browser, I will get one more window where you can search the required elements. This is what the library browser. Here first I will go for the input side onwards. I need a voltage source, which is a AC voltage source. Please keep on add these elements to the new untitled page. Right. Then pulse generator to fire the thyristor. Then thyristor we require 2 thyristors. We require diode also. We require voltage measurement block to measure the voltage, current measurement block which measures the current, scope to see the waveforms, voltage and current waveforms, series RLC branch which is our load, right? Power way to run this complete model. These are the elements, those things you can see in the untitled page where I have added everything, right? Now I'm going to build a circuit. This circuit consists of 2 diodes and 2 thyristors. Right, so let me replace this thyristor with T1, this diode with the D1. So let me rearrange T1 and this is T2. All right, this is D1 and D2. Right, let me short this anode cathode like this. Let me short this cathodes. Now phase AC source voltage we need to adjust it at 230 volts peak. Indian standard frequency 50 Hz. P is connected to leg A. N is connected to leg B. This is what leg A, leg B. Right, we need to connect a load here. Load is first we will consider R load of value 2 ohms. Now to measure the current flowing to the load, I need to connect a current measurement block in series with the load. To measure voltage across the load, connect a current measurement voltage measurement block across the load. Right, so as I told you, during positive half cycle, T1 and T2 will be in forward, T1 will be forward bias condition. To complete one cycle, it will take 360 degrees. 360 degrees for 50 Hz means it will take 20 milliseconds. So if I want to trigger it, since T1 can be triggered from alpha equals 0 to pi. So if you want to trigger it alpha 30 degrees, so it will be, I can write it as 0.02 divided by 360 to 30 degrees. Okay, so that is the I am going to adjust here in case of pulse generator, which is provided to the T1. Amplitude is 1. Time period it is 50 Hz. It will take 20 milliseconds. Forget about pulse width. Phase delay, which is the firing angle now. Just now I told you it is 0.02 into 30 divided by 360. Okay, that is given to T1. Now after 180 degree, T2 should come into picture because during negative half cycle, T2 will go to the conduction state if you apply triggering pulse, because that is in forward bias condition. Okay, it is given to like this. Okay, suppose I want to measure, I want to see the input voltage response in the scope. I need to connect a voltage measurement block across the source. So first input, if you recall the document, Word document, and if I see the expected waveforms, all these waveforms we need to see in the simulation. First input to the scope is input voltage, gate pulse to T1, gate pulse to T2, V0, I0, voltage across the resistor T1. So we need to see 5 responses. So if I double click on this one, if I double click on this scope, double click on the scope, you may get this one. So here I need to adjust number of axes as 5. Just uncheck this history and try to increase the line width so that you can easily see the responses more accurately. Okay, the first input to the scope is the voltage across the input, the voltage across source. Second input is firing pulse given to the T1. Third one is firing pulse given to T2. Fourth one is output voltage and output current. We need to see both at a time. Right, to see that one, correct a mux before this scope. Right, before this scope, correct as mux. Here I can find the mux. One input is from current source, current measurement, other from voltage measurement, which is connected to the scope. And the last one is the voltage across the thyristor. So anode should be connected to positive, cathode should be connected to negative like this, and it should connect to scope. So now the complete circuit is built in this model. Now we want to see the output responses, whether we are getting the same which we have extracted, which we have seen in the Word document. Right, I want to run this MATLAB for 3 cycles. 3 cycle means 20 multiplied by 20 milliseconds multiplied by 3, 60 milliseconds. Right, if I click on this run button, the model will run and you will see the output voltages. You can see output voltages, output currents, everything you can see in the scope. So please, if you click on this scope, I can see the waveforms in the scope. I'm going to share that waveform. Right here you can see the scope waveforms, where you can see the first one is the input voltage, second one is the pulse given to the T1, third one is the pulse given to T2, right? This is the output voltage, output current, and you can see here T1, it is in conduction state, here to here. Okay, let me show you the waveforms. Okay, so you can see this about R load, where the output current and the output voltage they are in phase. Now I will you can see here it is 30 degrees now. If you see from this reference point, and this will be pi plus 30, 210 degrees you can see. So you are getting only positive output voltage, positive output current, and this negative pulse is being converted to positive side. And since it's a resistive load, the current and the voltage they are in phase. All right. Now, right. So here you can see it is alpha equal to 30 degrees here. It is alpha equal to 30 plus pi, which is for T2 and T1. And here the output voltage is starting from this point. The output voltage following the input voltage waveform. And the current response we can see, which is in phase with the output voltage waveform. Similarly, if I trigger T2 at pi plus alpha from this point onwards, it will conduct from this point onward. The output voltage following the input voltage. The current, it is in phase with the output voltage. Now I will simulate the same rectifier at a different firing angle. Let us go for some 60 degrees, and T2 should trigger at 180 plus 60. Replace this 30 with 60. Again, if you simulate, you can see the output waveforms. Okay, now you can see here. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. Now you can see this is what alpha, which is given to T1. This is pi plus alpha, which is given to T2 because T2 is in forward bias condition during this negative half cycle, and T1 it is in forward bias condition during this positive half cycle. So if I trigger T1, D2 will conduct and you will get positive voltage across it. And since voltage and current they are in phase because the load is having the resistive load, and from here onwards T2 and T1 comes into picture, they will conduct and will get the voltage across the load and current to the load like this. So you can see here, since it's a resistive load, the current and the voltage, they are in phase. Now we'll move on to at one more firing angle. Let us consider at 120 degrees. And T2 should fire at pi plus 120 degrees. Nice. Just I want to show you the variation. Right, you can see here. You can see here, this is the firing angle alpha, which is 120 degrees, given to T1. It is 180 plus pi, 120 plus pi, which is 300 degrees here, which is given to T2. So from this point onwards, since T1 it is in conduction state, so you will get output voltage and there is output current. Similarly, from this point onward, we'll get the output voltage and output current, because T2 and D1 they will be in conduction state. Just recall the equivalent circuit. Okay. Now this is about the RL load. Now R load. Now we'll go for RL load. Just double click on this one, so that here branch type, now it is RL. So let us consider L equals some 5 millihenry, 2 millihenry. Okay, now just run it for 30 degrees, alpha 30 degrees, and T2 should conduct from 30 plus 180 degrees. So if I click on this run button, and if you want to see the output waveforms, you can able to see like this. Right now, since it's a resistive load, since it's a resistive and inductive load, the current wave shape will be different. Now you can see from this point onward, it is alpha equal 30 degrees here, which is given to T1. So from this point onward, T1, D2 will conduct and will get the output voltage like this. And after this point, T1, D1 will come into picture. So during this short interval, T1, D1 will comes into picture. And since T1 it is in conduction state, from this point onward, we'll get the voltage across T1 will be 0 ideally. Right, but you can see just after this point, T1, D2 will conduct and load is short circuited by this T1 and D2. So the current will discharge like this. It is discharging completely here to 0, but the output voltage is 0 because there is no, the load is short circuited by the these T1 and D2, T1 and D1. Right. So during negative half cycle, if you want to see, during negative half cycle, what happens? If I apply trigger impulse to T2, it will conduct. Since T1, D1 it is in forward bias condition. So from this point onward, from here to here, T2, D1 will conduct. And you can see the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging. Thereafter it is discharging. Here it is completely discharging. So during this interval, if you observe, the output voltage is 0 because the load is short circuited by thyristor T2 and diode D2. So during this interval, T2, D2, they are short circuited across the load, you will get 0 voltage. And there is a current which is discharging current of the inductor. So that is why during this interval, we are getting reverse voltage across thyristor T1 because that will be in reverse bias condition. So this is about RL load at alpha equal 30 degrees. Now let us move on to one more firing angle at alpha equal to 60 degrees. So just replace this 30 with 60. Here also T2 should trigger at 60 plus 180 degrees. Now if I double click on the scope, I can able to see the waveforms. Right, now you can see here it is 60, varying angle 60, which is given to T1. So during this complete positive half cycle, T1 and D2 will conduct, and you will get positive voltage across the load. And you can see the current, it is charging, thereafter it has to discharge. Here it is completely discharged, right? Which means the one more thyristor is starting, one more pair is coming to picture from this point onward. And now you can see during this discharging period, there is no output voltage, because during this interval, T1 and D1 is short circuited, and T1 D1 forms leg A. Now the complete leg is short circuited and it is connected to the load. So there is a short circuit voltage, short circuit across the load, which is done with the help of this T1 and D1. So we'll get zero voltage. And if I trigger a T2 at 180 plus 60, 240 degrees. So from this point onwards, T1, so T2 and D1 will conduct, and they will carry the current. Due to that current, you will get the output voltage like this, which is following the input voltage. And if you want to see the current is drained from the source. So source is charging the inductor. Thereafter it is discharging. Here it is completely discharging. So you can say during this interval, the output voltage is zero, because during this interval, T2 and D2 is in conduction state. So the load is short circuited by these two devices. So you'll get zero voltages. Like this, you can avoid the negative portion during negative portion for this RL load, which is not possible in case of fully controlled converter. Okay, now we'll go for one more firing angle. Let us go for 30, 90, so that you will have more idea whether you are varying the output voltage or not, whether you are getting variable voltage or not, that you can justify here. Now I'm going to share the scope. Here you can see T1 is triggered at alpha equal 90 degrees. If you present on the input side, it will lie at maximum positive. So it is 90 degrees, which is our alpha, and it is given to T1. So from this point onward, the output voltage following the input voltage. Current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging, discharging. So during this interval, you can see there is a current, but just after this omega t equal to pi, there is a current, but voltage is becoming zero. This is because during this positive portion, T1 and D2, they will conduct and you will get some voltage across the load. But after this omega t equal to pi, T1 already it is in conduction state, and during this negative half cycle, D1 it is in forward bias condition, which is an uncontrolled device, that will comes into conduction state, and there is a circulating current which is flowing through T1, D1, R load like this. So you'll get the load is short circuited by these two components. So you'll get zero voltage. So you can see from this point to here, in both the cases, T1 it is in conduction state. So the voltage across T1 is around zero, ideally. Okay. Again, if I trigger T2 at pi plus alpha, 270 plus 180 plus 90 degrees, 270. From this point on, the output voltage has to follow the input voltage. So it is following like this. And the current is lagging the voltage by some angle like this. Okay. Now current is lagging, and after this point omega t equal 2 pi, you can see the output voltage again is zero. This is due to that during this interval, T2 D1 it is in conduction state, but after omega t equal to pi, T2 it is already in conduction state because it is a control device. D1 it is automatically goes to off condition because it is an uncontrolled device. Whenever it is a device bias condition, that will goes to the off state. Now T2 D2 will conduct and you will get zero voltage across the load. You just recall the circuit. which consists of T2 D2 in leg B. So leg B short circuited by these devices. So there is a short circuit voltage across it, across the load, and you all know that short circuit voltage should be 0. That is why we are getting 0 voltage there. Now we'll go to the RLE load concept. Now you can cross check the same thing we have observed in the Word document. You can see the same thing. So we didn't see any negative voltage in the simulation also, but you can see we have seen the current waveform like this, voltage waveform like this, everything the same as and the simulated value, simulated waveform. Now I will move on to the same rectifier, half control rectifier with RLE load. Now I want to make this inductance as 2 millihenry to see the negative peak in a better way. Okay, let us connect one more mux here, and let us connect one more measurement block, voltage measurement block. Okay, then input to this mux is one from the voltage measurement block, which is coming from, right? Now it is connected here like this. Okay, now let us operate this rectifier at alpha equal to 30 degree onwards. Okay, now if I click on this run button, it will run and it will show you the results. Now you may see one thing here. You may see one thing here. That is, just now we have seen that when the current is becoming 0, there is no output voltage, no doubt, because the leg is short circuited by the the load is short circuited by any one of the leg. It may be A leg, it may be B leg. That is why we got 0 voltage. But if see, this is alpha, which is 30 degree, and it is given to T1. Right? Now T2 is triggered at 180 plus 30. This is what 180 plus 30. So you can see during the short interval, during the alpha period, now you may observe one thing here. There is only the battery voltage, which is 100 volts here. I have connected 100 volts here. Now you won't find any current, because here T1 it is in off condition, T2 is also in off condition because it is in reverse bias condition. Now there is no power which is flowing from source to load, since there is no conduction of the thyristors which are there in between the load and source. So the load is subjected to only one voltage called battery voltage, because output voltage I wrote it as voltage across the resistance, voltage across the inductance, and battery voltage. If there is no current in the load, resistance and inductance, these two factors will goes to 0 and we will get output voltage equal to battery voltage. That is what you can observe here. But from alpha equal 30 degrees onwards, the output voltage is following the input voltage like this. And at this particular point, you can see the 0 voltages, because here the current is completely extinguishes to 0. So during this interval, T1 will be in conduction state and D1 will be in conduction state, you will get some voltage. And whenever the inductor discharges energy completely, there is no VR effect, then there is no VL effect, we left with E only. So after this point, you will get only E, right? So you can see during this interval, the current is becoming 0. Because of that 0 current, you won't get any voltage which is associated with resistance and inductance. Okay, that is what I want to show you. Right from here onwards, from this point onwards, T1, T2 is in forward bias condition, which is associated with this positive voltage during this negative half cycle. So if I trigger T2, T2 D1 will comes into picture and they will carry the current. Due to that current, it is having some voltage. So you can see the current is lagging the voltage by some angle, charging. It is discharging at this particular point. Here it is discharging completely. That means from here to here, T2 and D1 it is in conduction state, but during the short interval, discharging current of the inductor after 2 pi, T2, D2 will be in conduction state. Now the leg is short circuited by T2 and D2, and the complete energy which is stored in the inductor is dissipated to the resistance, and it will take this much of time. Thereafter, the inductor which is having its energy in it is completely dissipated to the resistance. Then the current will become zero, and thereafter during this interval, since the output current equals zero, there is no term with VR which is related to VR, and VL will goes to zero. You will get only battery voltage that you can see here. Right, this is at alpha equal to and 30 degrees, and you can see battery voltage we kept it as 100 volts here. Right. Similarly, let us decrease the battery voltage to some 50 volts, and let us increase the inductance to some 8 millihenry. 8 millihenry. Right. So now it is already 8 millihenry. Right? Now decrease the battery voltage to 50 volts, and now we'll operate this converter at 60 degrees firing angle. So T2 should trigger at 180 plus 60. Now, if I open the scope, you can see these waveforms. Now here you can clearly see. Now this is 60 degrees, which is given to T1. This is pi plus 60, which is given to T2. So during this interval, because from this point onward, T1 it is in conduction state, it is in forward bias condition. No doubt D2 may be in conduction state because it will be in forward bias condition. But to close the current flow, to get a closed loop for the current to flow, we need to trigger T1. Then only there is a closed path for the current from source to load, and you will get some voltage. So from this point onward, the output voltage following the input voltage like this. Then there is due to presence of inductance in the load, the current is charging, lagging the voltage by some angle. Charging, thereafter discharge. Here it is completely discharged. So which means from during this positive portion from alpha to pi, T1, D2 will be in conduction state. Just recall the circuit configuration. During this interval, these two devices in forward bias condition. And whereas after pi onwards, omega t equal pi onwards, D1 will be in forward bias condition. So that will come into conduction state. Since T1 it is in conduction state, which is a control device. So those two will conduct and they will get short circuited by this one, like this. Right? And there you can find there is no effect of this battery here. You cannot see the battery effect because always the output voltage is more than the input voltage here. Now let us move on to some another voltage firing angle. So let me change to 100 volts and let me simulate once again. Here you can see the battery effect now, because now the voltage is adjusted to 100 volts. Now you can see during the short portion there is no current. If there is no current, VR will be 0, VL will be 0. You will get output voltage, net output voltage, only battery voltage. Right. So let us go for one more firing angle. Right. Now I will adjust the firing angle of T1 to 90 degrees. And T2, you all know that T2 should trigger at 180 plus 90 degrees. Okay, so T2 firing pulse should start from, the conduction of T2 should start from 180 plus 90 degrees. Here you can see, right? So here, this is what alpha, which is 90 degree, and which is given to T1. And this is 90 plus 180, which is 270 degrees, which is given to T2. And from this point onward, the output voltage follow the input voltage. And current, you can see there is lag in the current with respect to voltage, charging, then it is discharging completely here. Okay, so during this small interval, T1, D1 comes into picture, and the leg A short circuited to the load, and because of that you won't get any voltage across the load. Then after this point, the current, the discharging current will goes to 0, and if there is no discharging current effect, we wrote the output voltage as voltage across resistance, voltage across inductance, and the battery voltage. Okay, now during this interval there is no output current, so VR goes to 0, VL goes to 0, and we left with only the battery voltage. You can see the battery voltage. And from omega t equal to alpha to this interval where the current is extinguished to 0, during this interval, T1 it is in conduction state, because during this positive interval, T1, D2 are in conduction state, and during the short interval after omega t equal to pi, T1, D1 will be in conduction state. So this means during this complete area period, T1 it is in conduction state. So the voltage across T1 will be 1 to 2 volts practically, and it is giving 0 voltage ideally. Right? Similarly, if I trigger T2 at this particular point, because D1 it is an already forward bias condition during negative half cycle, if you recall the circuit configuration. Okay, so if I trigger T2, and there is a possibility of current which is flowing from load source to load, and they will conduct from this point onward. Up to this point, these two devices will be in conduction state, and just after omega t equal to 2 pi, D1 goes to off condition, because during positive half cycle D1 will be in reverse bias condition, D2 will be in forward bias condition. So just after this point, a positive half cycle comes into picture, and D2 comes into picture, and that will conduct. So during the short interval, T2, D2 will conduct, and the load is short circuited by these devices, which is a phase leg B, right? You will get 0 voltage. So during this interval, now you can see, if you want to see the voltage across the resistor T2, from here to here, you will get 0 voltage across T2. The simulation means ideal waveform you will get. So this is what about the effect of the battery at different firing angles, right? So now these waveforms you can also verify with the expected waveform, which I have shown you in the Word document. Now you can see T1, T2. Now you can see there is a battery voltage for short interval of time during which the current equals 0. And the output current equals 0, you won't get VR, VL effect. And again, I am recalling you, V0, I wrote it as voltage across resistance plus voltage across inductance plus battery voltage. So during the short interval where you are about to see the battery voltage, right, during the short interval, there is output current equals 0. If there is no output current, VR will be 0, VL will be 0. You will get only battery voltage. That is what you can see here. Wherever E magnitude is there, the output current during that interval is 0. So this is what about the simulation of half control rectifier at different types of load. Now, if you want to see the output, if you want to see the output voltage expression. This is the output voltage expression in case of RL load, R load, and this is the output voltage expression in case of RL load. You may have one more doubt here. Both the expressions are same. Absolutely, both the equations are same. Now, why I am saying both the expressions are same means just recall the waveforms. So we are that is the average and RMS output voltage expression. RMS output voltage expression that depends upon its wave shape. Now you can see in both the cases the average output voltage waveform. So output voltage waveform is same. During this interval 0, here it is 0, and this negative half cycle is converted to positive half cycle like this, and after it goes to 0. So the wave shape in both the cases for R load and RL load is same, and you will get same average output voltage as well as RMS output voltage. That is why even if you simulate and even if you do the theoretical calculations, these theoretical calculations will match with your simulated values. Now this is the expression for the RLE load, where Vm is the under root 2 times Vs. Vs is 230 we have given, right? So pi means 3.14. Here pi means 180 degrees. To convert this degrees into radiation, you just multiply this with pi by 180. Vm, it is just now I have mentioned you, is the battery voltage. I have kept it as 100 volts. So now again you convert this magnitude into radians. Okay, then you will get the simulated values that should match with this theoretical value. So at different values of firing angle, now we can easily calculate what should be our RMS output voltage, and you match this theoretical value which you have obtained with the simulated values, right? So in order to do that, you just connect a voltage measurement, so RMS value, RMS measurement block. I will go to the untitled page once again. Okay, just you connect a RMS block. Here you can find the RMS block, which will give the RMS value, and you can also display that value in the display block. Right here I can find the display. Right now we need to measure the RMS output voltage, right? So this should be connected to the output voltage measurement. Then it should connect to display that will display the value. Okay, you can say here it is for RL load we got it as 138.4 simulated. You multiply this one with root 2, that will give the output voltage which you have obtained. Right. Similarly, at different values of firing angle, you can see different. Let us say, let me decrease this one to 60. So there should be some increment in the RMS output voltage, because net area will increase if I decrease the firing angle alpha. It is 134, right? 138. Now I'm getting it as 162 here, you can see, which was about 134 previously. So this is about the simulation of semi-controlled converter and its working operation. Thank you.